Okay, so here we are in the small field, and we've got here some Czech hardnecks or paličaks. Shall we go and stand by the garlic, then we can see how big it is. Go and stand by the garlic. So there you can see good growth, nice healthy colour. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leaves. That's a slightly smaller example there, but most of it is between 6 and 7 leaves. Okay, more examples of paličak. This is Ducat, which is an old Czech variety. It's looking really strong and healthy. As we move down through here, we've got different varieties. That's another Czech variety. It's similar to Hardneck. It's not a big bulb, and as you can see, it hasn't got a big stem. And that's all the same. Here we've got the same as previous shot, which is more hardnecks. So everything at the moment is looking really quite nice. Nice strong stems, nice green leaves. And that is garlic that's grown from bulbils, so that will make a single clove bulb, or jedno strožek this year. That is just a few Shallot gris. Most of them didn't survive the winter, but those that did look quite happy. And we've got some spare beds here, which will be spring onions later on. And then we go into here, our elephant garlic, which, as you can see, is way stronger than the rest of it. It's not quite as tall, but it was later to get going, and is now really pushing ahead. If I put the spade behind there, you can see that it's really got quite a bit of girth about it. And then here we go into the Hardneck. The Hardneck, we've got about 15 beds. It's a Czech stroke Polish hardneck. Good colour again on the new leaves, bit of yellowing on the old leaves, which we knew about. And we'll now have a dig. Okay, so let's have a look in the ground and see what we've got. Ease that up. We don't want to dig anything up, we just want to see what it's doing. So, here we go. There it is. That is a Hardneck garlic. It's quite healthy there. See that? That's perfect. So we'll just cover that back up. That's all we need to see. Okay, just a quick look here at the banana shallots. These are autumn planted. We've got to pick the tops out of them. We don't want those flowers. They won't help us. They'll just make hollow shallots. So they're all quite healthy. Like I say, there's lots of flowers to pick out. We don't want the flowers. Then we go here to the French shallots. They're also quite healthy. All grown from sets. These have just had a hoe put through them. You can see there's a bit of disturbance between the rows, just to pull out a few weeds. It's reasonably effective. This is quite green before. And just over there you can see the spring planted garlic, which isn't really doing very well, but it did go in very late. It went in April, and just this side of it you can see a line of onions grown from sets. Now, what I want to show is the Spanish Morado that came back from Spain, naturally being Spanish, which is down here, and you'll see as soon as we get to it that it's a darker colour. It's got a lot more vigour in it, and that is probably because it was such healthy stuff when we found it. There you are, you can see where it starts. So it's got a lot more growth in it, a lot more vitality. It's healthy. It's small, it's going to be small, it's going to be small because it went in so late. But if we consider it as an experiment, and if it's a successful experiment, it will generate us some seed for replanting so that we can multiply it up, then on that basis it should be a success. And that, just for a laugh, is some red onion sets that came from the £1 shop in New Malden. There you go. They're all relatively happy. Give us a few red salad onions for the summer. Be good on the barbecue. And again, there's the spring planted Avignon, also known as Solent White. Okay, this field is about 2.8 hectares, and most of what you see in front of you is planted with pumpkins, squashes, various varieties. Here is some dirty garlic. It was a bit of an experiment really. When we were planting at the end of last year, it was too wet to plant in the other field, so we thought we'd try planting here. You can see the hose been through to try and take out a few of those weeds. We'll get some chemical on that as soon as it dries up and take out the rest. Quite a healthy crop. If you dig down, you'll see it's just starting to bulb. This field was Roundup, sprayed with Roundup about 4 weeks ago, and you can see here is some garlic that's still remaining after Roundup and is still healthy. You can see on this plant, it's slightly yellow, but it hasn't had any fertiliser, so it would be. But that is still growing healthily after Roundup. And there you can see 3 plants that have been dug up, and they are quite healthy. Interesting that the Roundup hasn't affected them. Okay, I just dug up one of the plants from over there, which is a plant that is being sprayed for protection and with nutrients, and you can see the difference in size of the two. So the one on the left is a protected plant that we're cultivating, and the one on the right is one that's been forgotten. It's still growing, but the one on the left is much happier. Okay, here we are in the big field. This is an early purple variety which was originally Spanish, and you can see it's just starting to form its scape. Where are we to? Where are we? There we are. Okay, that is the scape, which will eventually produce a flower or something like that, which is not common for a softneck, but it is a softneck variety. And you can see we've got good growth. All the new growth is nice and green. There's a bit of yellow in the stem, but I don't think that's anything to worry about. These last 3 leaves are nice and green now. So yeah, it's pretty much there. So we'll just have a quick dig, see what we can find down below. Soil's nice and loose. We've had quite a bit of rain. There you are, you can just see it's starting to bulb already. And that, I haven't got a tape measure with me to show, but that is about a 40mm bulb at the moment. And that is a fairly standard specimen. There's some with thicker stems, which will indeed have more in the bottom of them, and there are some that are smaller. So I would say that's a fairly standard size, and I would expect that to make a bulb of about 60-65mm, which is a nice saleable size. And we planted about 1.85, 1.9 tons of this variety, and you can see all of that is the same variety. Okay, we're just walking across the field here towards the north, and here is where the early purple variety that I was just talking about finishes, and this is the start of our larger production of the Solent White. Solent White last year was quite a small variety until quite late on, and this now is really starting to motor. This is about twice the size that it was 3 weeks ago. It's going to be later maturing. It's got a bit of yellow about it, and we'll probably give it another hit of nitrogen next week just to make sure it's got what it wants. So digging down again, nice soft soil, nice structure to it, and somewhere, where are we to? Okay, so that hasn't started bulbing yet. That's just still doing its growing, and that'll be quite late to bulb. I'd say that won't be ready for harvest. Judging by last year we harvested this variety at the end of July, and we were a little bit late in harvesting it. But with this being a later year, I would say that we won't harvest this until possibly the first week of August. We planted about 500 kilos of it. Still got a lot to do, and we've got that 500 kilos on about 14 beds. So heading north across the field now. We're just coming to the end of the Solent White. You can see from there to there, there's a slight difference in the colour of the leaf, and this is a Spring Morado. Again, you can see it's forming a scape. This would be quite a similar variety to the early purple that we've planted, and you can see there that it's already got quite a nice little bulb to it. That is again about a 40mm bulb out of a tiny little plant like that, so it's really looking quite promising. This is the first variety that we will start picking up for our fresh market. There's a larger stem, as you can see, compared to that one. If we get right down in the bottom there, you can see that that stem is quite tiny and that stem is quite chunky. So just for comparison, we'll dig down and see if there's any difference. Yes, there is. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That will make a 70mm bulb quite happily. Okay, so again, moving northward across the field, we have the same variety. We're coming to the end of it now. You can see that there is a change there. So that's got quite a springy green to it, and this has got an older green to it. And this is a different variety again. And there's actually about two beds of this. Again, it's an early one. You can see there that the scape is just starting to curl over, and that will eventually put in a full circle and start to head skyward again. So just digging down. Let's have a look. Where are we to? You never know where they're going to be. They never grow straight up out of the ground. So when you dig down the side of them, you need to be quite careful that you don't harm them. Wow, look at that. Look at that. 40mm again, quite happy. Everything's as it should be. Nice colour to the leaf. Excellent. Okay, now as we get over to here, we start to border onto our main crop there, which is the Theodore. But if you come back to here, this is the first bed before the Theodore, and on one side of the bed we have a Bulgarian Hardneck, which was bought and planted as a bit of an experiment, and the experiment was to see how it fared here. The bulbs that we planted, the cloves that we planted, were quite small, and so it was a bit of an experiment. It's quite a potent garlic. It's got quite a strong flavour to it, which, as we know, the people here like. Again, bulbing, there it is. Now that is about 35mm bulb at the moment. It's got a good sized stem on it. Most of the stems are nice and thick, and I would say there's no scape emerging on that yet. As you can see, it's all leaf. So before we see any scape, we're going to get a lot more growth out of that, and hopefully we'll get some nice fat bulbs out of it. Now this is our Theodore. This is our main crop. We've got, this is a 9-hectare field. You can see it. It's a pretty dirty day. That is a 9-hectare field, and from here to the woods, and from here to the rape on the horizon under the woods is Theodore. We planted just over 3 tons of it. It's quite a pleasant garlic in terms of its finish. It looks fantastic. It's not particularly pungent garlic, but it gets good bulb size and looks really good in plats. It looks really good in a basket, and it sells very well. A lot of people in Moravia bought seed from us last year and planted our Theodore. And as you can see, that is just sat there quite happily, just filling up. It's not bulbing yet. The base is about 15-20mm. The stem is about 12mm. So it's all just sat there quite happy. Quite happy. You also notice with the soft neck that the leaves are far more upright than they are with the hardneck varieties, where the leaves tend to fall over and lay down. Okay, well, it's pouring with rain, which you probably can't see. We're not going to go as far as that. Poor Gabby's over there picking weeds out with the dogs. We're now going to head east up to the earliest planted of this variety and see how it's looking. So we're just coming to the end of this row, and this is the last of Theodore planted, which went in probably about the 2nd week of November. And as we head towards the north of the field, that was planted from end of October to later on in November. And here, all of this was planted in October. I would expect to see more of a difference in size. I would expect this to be more forward because it's been in the ground longer. We won't really see any advantage to it until we pull it up as garlic. You can see looking down the road, it's got a lot more top in it than the last planted of the Theodore to the right there has. So maybe it will just be that much bigger. All the time we're looking for bulb size. Bulb size is what we want. When you consider that we did our job last autumn, we planted our bulbs. So in order to have more production, we need bigger bulbs. We can't have more bulbs because we're constricted by the amount of cloves that we planted. So after that, we just really want big bulbs. And you can see there, that is a fantastic specimen. That is about almost 2 centimetres in the stem, which is brilliant. That's exactly what we want. Okay, so it's really, the heavens are really open now, so we're going to call it a day, and I hope you enjoyed watching.